All right, let's just jump right into this one. We're going to break down the absolutely wild testimony of a former U.S. Marine. He says he stumbled onto a secret operation, an operation so dangerous that, well, almost no one lives to talk about it. We're talking about mind-bending technology, mysterious forces, and a cover-up that honestly goes deeper than you can probably imagine.
So this all kicks off back in 2009, and according to Dr. Stephen Greer, the man at the center of this story, Michael Herrera, is incredibly lucky to be alive. Greer makes it very clear. People who see these kinds of operations, they don't usually get to walk away and talk about it.
Okay, so here's our guy, Michael Herrera. He's a U.S. Marine, part of the 31st Expeditionary Unit. And he's in Indonesia on what's supposed to be a humanitarian mission, helping out after a massive earthquake and tsunami hit the area. His job was simple: provide security for a landing zone. A totally routine mission that was about to go completely off the rails.
So this whole thing went down in 4 just chaotic stages. First, Herrera's unit gets to this high ground to get a better look, and that's when they see it. This huge, rotating thing in the middle of the jungle, changing colors. Now, they knew they weren't supposed to, but they went to check it out. Bad move. They're immediately ambushed by these mysterious guys. Then they're forced to just stand there and watch as these trucks pull up and load huge containers onto a platform that's just floating there silently, and then it just merges with the craft. And finally, the craft itself, this giant octagon, we're talking football field sized, it just lifts up over the trees and poof, it's gone. No sound, no boom, nothing. Just vanished into thin air.
And Herrera is super clear about this part. These guys were not foreign soldiers. He says they had American accents, they were carrying weapons that were way more advanced than what the Marines had, and they moved like elite special forces. They knew exactly where to find the Marines' ID cards and were threatening them the whole time, saying stuff like, we should just blow their heads off and it's real easy to get lost out here. Chilling stuff.
But believe it or not, the encounter in the jungle was just the beginning. According to Herrera, what came next was this swift, terrifying, and systematic effort to make damn sure that he and his men would never, ever talk about what they saw. And the lengths they went to, it's just extreme. First, the physical evidence. Herrera had taken pictures and video, right? Well, he gets back to the ship. His locker's been opened, and his camera is sitting there on his rack. The memory card? Gone. The battery? Gone. And the camera itself? Totally fried. Then, later, back in Okinawa, some Air Force officer with no name tag on his uniform shoves a top-secret NDA in his face and forces him to sign it. The threat couldn't have been more clear. If you talk, you could be executed for treason.
Now, for years, Herrera was convinced he had just stumbled upon some kind of super sophisticated drug trafficking operation. I mean, the containers he saw looked like they had oxygen systems, and really, what else could it be? But the truth, according to another whistleblower who came forward years later, was something far more disturbing. So this brings us to the big question, right? What kind of cargo needs a silent, levitating, 300-foot-wide spaceship, a team of mystery commandos, and the threat of execution just to get it out of a disaster zone? What could possibly be that secret? So years later, after Herrera finally goes public with his story, another whistleblower, this one a JSOC operator, supposedly confirms the whole thing, and he reveals what was really in those containers. And it's so much worse than drugs. The claim is they were trafficking people. I mean, just think about that for a second. A disaster zone is the perfect cover, right? Everything's in chaos, infrastructure is gone, thousands of people are missing. It's the perfect environment to make vulnerable people disappear without anyone ever knowing. This incredible, horrifying allegation, it doesn't point to some sanctioned government program. It points to something else entirely. It's what Dr. Greer calls a shadow organization, an entity that operates completely off the books, beyond the law, beyond any kind of oversight. Let's try and wrap our heads around this concept. This transnational criminal organization, or TNCO, it isn't the government as we know it. The theory is that it's a completely separate, self-funding beast that has its tentacles in government, in big corporations, and in criminal syndicates, all to serve its own hidden agenda. An agenda that nobody, not even the president, can hold accountable.
And the list of things they're supposedly involved in is just staggering. We're talking about using these advanced man-made UFOs, technology that's supposedly been reverse engineered, as the backbone for a massive criminal enterprise, an enterprise that deals in trafficking, illegal arms sales, and even uses private contractors for assassinations. It's a scary thought. So why does this all matter? Well, because Herrera's story, as wild as it is, doesn't stand alone. It's presented as just one piece of a much, much larger puzzle, a puzzle that's supposedly backed up by other whistleblowers from military and intelligence circles who tell shockingly similar stories. For example, you've got this account from a Special Forces Green Beret. He claims that during a training class in Indiana, of all places, he was taken deep, deep underground into some kind of secret facility. And there, they showed him what they called off-world tech, including a device that looked like a tablet but communicated with symbols nobody could read. And then there's this story, which is eerily similar to Herrera's, but it happened more than a decade earlier in 1997. Another Marine, this time out at 29 Palms, says his unit was sent to investigate a strange object. What they found was a massive, silent, triangular craft and about 30 mercenary-looking guys in black SUVs who held them at gunpoint. Sound familiar? Okay, and this one might be the weirdest of all. It's the testimony from a guy on a crash retrieval team. He says that after being involved in operations with real ET craft, he started getting harassed by what looked like your classic gray alien. But during one encounter, he actually fought back and knocked the thing over. And when it hit the ground, its skin split open, revealing not guts and bones, but fiber optics and wires. It was a robot, a man-made drone designed to look like an alien. So all of this leads to this central theory here. The really big secret isn't that aliens exist. The real secret, the argument goes, is that this shadow group has its own fleet of these incredible reverse-engineered craft, and they use them to manipulate events, to intimidate people, and maybe, just maybe, to get ready to stage a fake alien invasion to grab for even more power. Look, the claims made in these testimonies are, without a doubt, extraordinary. They completely upend our basic ideas about who's in charge, what technology really exists, and what might be happening just behind the scenes. And it leaves us with one really profound question. If any of this is actually true, who is really in control?